I'm just going to make as much income as I want because I can. The thing is, the income may not come, or it may not come as quickly as you'd like. Welcome to Jenna Frog's Bookkeeping Lily Pad, your cozy corner of the podcasting world, where numbers tell a story and bookkeeping blossoms into an adventure. My name is Rachel Barnett, and I'm glad you're here. This podcast is for bookkeepers who enjoy authentic, unfiltered, and always encouraging friend to talk shop with. We will be discussing what it's like to own and operate a small bookkeeping business. This podcast is for people who want to start a business, who have a business, who want to hear my take on random things, and then also accounting tips and tricks. If you're thinking about starting a business, I just want to walk through a handful of things with you. First of all, do you really want a business? It's incredibly easy to say that you do. I'll tell you for myself, I did not want a business. I thought I was picking up a temporary gig that would last a couple months. The owner hired me as a 1099 contractor to avoid paying payroll taxes. But in reality, I wasn't a contractor. I didn't have a business. I didn't have other clients. I just responded to a Craigslist ad where someone said, hey, I need someone to come in, clean up our accounting records. Job will last a month or so. That'd be great. And I'm like, terrific. I had quit a job, another job starting in a couple months as soon as the owner had figured out the lease on their building. And I was just going to take this temporary gig to fill the gap between the two jobs. Well, the job I was going to go to fell through. The owner didn't sign a lease on the space and in fact decided to move out of state and change careers entirely. So I'm like, cool. I was then faced with a situation where I had a business, quote unquote, and did I want to make it a real business or do I want to just finish what I was working on, part ways, and go get a job? I really, really loved the guys that I worked with. We were a small group of 3 people. We had a fantastic relationship between us and a fantastic relationship with the other people around us. It was fun, so I went out and got a business license and did all the things that you do to start a business. This was in 2012. It's now 13 years later, and I still have a business, and I still ask myself every day, do I really want a business? Now, clearly the answer for me is yes, because I keep doing it. But I want to talk about some things that you might want to consider thinking about. What's the itch that you're trying to scratch? Do you want to earn more money? Do you want a job where you can work from home? Is it something else? I would ask you to ask yourself, is this something that can be accomplished by picking up a side job? Getting a side job is not easy, but it's certainly easier than starting a business from scratch. Starting a business from scratch means setting up all your systems and your software and getting clients. There are many reasons to be self-employed. I just want to run through a couple of them. You get to be your own boss. You get to make all of the decisions. So that's a blessing and a curse. There are days that I wish somebody else could make decisions for me, but I'm also really grateful when things are hard or tough or fantastic that I can look inward and say, I made decisions that got me to here. But as I say that, I want to be real clear. I don't live in a vacuum, right? I've got a team. I've got Jess, my VA. I've got Kirill, my podcast editor. I have Carlos, my video editor. And I have Maria, my graphic designer. In addition to my bookkeeping friends, which I am so incredibly grateful for. So while I do make the decisions myself, and I do say that I wish somebody else could make the decisions for me, I have a wide range of people that I brainstorm ideas with. So the book stops with me, but at least I'm not by myself just twiddling my thumbs wondering, should I do this or should I do that? Another reason you might want to be self-employed is to build something that you can grow and sell or maybe gift. My first business, the one that I started by accident or reluctantly or kicking and screaming, however you want to think about it, I grew that business and sold it to a CPA who had a tax practice. She had tax-only clients and she wanted to expand into bookkeeping. I had bookkeeping-only clients with absolutely zero desire to offer tax. It was a good fit for us to come together and for her to buy that business. Selling my business wasn't my intention when I started, and having had gone through it, I personally wouldn't go through it again, but it worked out in that situation. There are some pitfalls or challenges of being self-employed. The first is that it's lonely. Even my best bookkeeper friends don't really know what it's like at my desk. When Megan and I worked together, we talked all the time. That helped it to feel less lonely, but there was still some element of loneliness. I didn't work on the things she worked on, and she didn't work on the things I worked on, and we double-checked each other, and we got along well. We hopped on Zoom on a regular basis, but it wasn't the same as if both of us were employees or both of us were coworkers on the same level. For me, one of the challenges that I had in the beginning was that it was really hard to separate my home and my work. Unlike with a regular job with a defined schedule, whether it's from this time to that time or X number of hours per week, being self-employed doesn't have a defined schedule. You can work as much as you want. One of the challenges with that is that if you have no clients, you feel like you need to hustle. You need to get out there and do what you can to get clients. You need to build up your online presence. You need to XYZ insert the thing here. The problem I experienced was that I spent a lot of time trying to get the word out so that I could have income and not have to admit defeat and get a proper job. Because I was inexperienced with owning a business and really regulating my own workload, I didn't know how much different it was going to be from being an employee at a bookkeeping office. So in the beginning, I got clients and I got busier, and then suddenly I found that it took over my personal time. What that really means is that it crept into my weekends and it crept into my vacations. My husband and I would go on a trip and I'd bring my laptop to do a little bit of work in the morning. You couldn't have convinced me that that wasn't a good use of my time because I needed to hustle. I needed to get those opportunities. If I didn't take those opportunities and do everything I could with them, or everything that I did do with them, I probably didn't maximize everything, they would have gone away. I look back older and wiser and more experienced, and I think, oh my God, past Rachel, you didn't need to take your laptop on vacation. You didn't need to do all these things. But I didn't know that at the time. One of the things that I wasn't good at was setting expectations. I think things would have been better for me if I had set expectations that said, I'm taking on your monthly bookkeeping, your project, whatever. And during this upcoming month, it's going to take me longer to get it done because I'm going to be out of the office and I work by myself. So for me, a challenge I had was separating home from work. And then I worked a ton of hours. I felt like there was an infinite amount of work to get done, and I could justify it with thoughts of infinite income. The sky's the limit. No one's here to be my boss. No one's here to stop me and tell me how much money I'm going to make. I'm just going to make as much income as I want because I can. The thing is, the income may not come, or it may not come as quickly as you'd like. Have you ever watched I think back to the 1989 movie Field of Dreams, and I laugh and I think, oh my God, this was so me. And I quietly laugh when I see it happening to others now. Not in a mean, malicious way, more like in a, I've been there, I totally know how this goes kind of way. If you've never seen the movie, it's a nice movie, it's a heartwarming movie, and I recommend it. The thing that I want you to take away from this is that this guy's cornfield keeps telling the main character, if you build it, he will come. I bring this up because I feel like sometimes when people start a business, they spend a lot of time thinking about how to make this and that perfect and how they're going to put a bunch of money and a bunch of effort into it because if you build it, they will come. I have some bookkeeping friends who have started their business, and for any variety of reasons, they don't have clients or they don't have enough clients to sustain their business. This isn't a failing on their part. This is just how it's ended up working out. I bring it up because I really want you to think about, do I want a business? Is it going to scratch the itch? And am I being realistic about what I'm going to achieve by starting this business? There are a handful of things that I've been certain about since I was little, that I would never have kids, that I would never start a business, and that I would never be in a position of managing other people. Well, apparently I was wrong on 2 out of 3. I come to you 13 years into my business, a person who did not start a business on purpose, in fact, who specifically never wanted to start a business. I create things such as the podcast, the YouTube channel, and the newsletter as my way of giving back and paying it forward. I want to approach this from the perspective of somebody who did not always dream of building a business, who definitely does not dream of building some sort of magical enterprise, who never plans to be a removable CEO, and who isn't going to build this up to sell their business. I've said it before and I'll say it again. There are plenty of places out there to get pumped up and hear all the fabulous things that you can do and get energized and to get advice on specific things. My goal is just to be the person who meets you for a cup of tea or meets you for a beer and says, hey, have you thought through all the things? Here are a handful of things that I can tell you if they're helpful. If they are, fantastic. And if they're not, no biggie. It doesn't hurt my feelings. It doesn't make or break my day if you start a business. I'm just here to give you my 2 cents in case it's helpful. Thanks.